7. Okay. I will call tonight's planning and zoning meeting to order and ask if there's any motion regarding the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as it reads.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item would be approval of the minutes pending any changes. Anybody?
I didn't notice it.
I have no changes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, then I'll second it.
Oh, you did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is the reappointment of Sharon Johnson to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Vice Chair Johnson served on the East Bethel Planning Commission since February 2017. Her current appointment expires on January 31st of 2022. Planning Commission is requested to consider the approval of a recommendation to City Council to reappoint Sharon Johnson to the Planning Commission for an additional term to commence on February 1st, 2022 and expire on January 31st of 2025.
Is that requiring a vote on it from us? Okay. I'll make a motion to reappoint Sharon Johnson for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next will be the interviewing of 3 candidates we have for filling of 2 vacant seats on Planning Commission.
Commissioners Ike and Lawrence did not request a reappointment to the Planning Commission, leaving 2 vacancies on the commission. The vacancies were posted on the city website for approximately 3 months. City staff received 3 letters of interest. The letters of interest and interview questions are attached for your review. The commission is requested to interview the applicants and make recommendations to the City Council to fill the 2 vacant seats, in which the terms will expire on January 31st of 2025. Our interview will start with Gabriel Hanshin, and I'm going to ask the other 2 applicants to please step with me into a different room.
You're right. Okay.
Doesn't matter.
This is my spot, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
you.
So we actually have a series of 6 questions that we ask each interviewee. So the first one is, why are you interested in becoming a commission member for East Bethel?
So 3 years ago or so, we moved into East Bethel, and ever since, it's just felt like this is where we're going to be for the next indefinite amount of time. So I really, decided if we're going to plant roots here, let's really do it. I want to be a part of, the community, our city. I came to the town hall meeting, I believe it was on the 8th or the 2nd November, and, I pitched the question, where's my first step? And I was recommended to either join this or the Parks Board, but I think this is where I'd like to serve.
All right, and what strengths and abilities would you bring to the commission?
Definitely a lot of passion. I'm sure you'll see I'm talkative as well as very committed to what I go after. So as far as contributing to the planning committee, I would take it very seriously. As an electrician, I lead people. I have apprentices beneath me that I coordinate with daily, consistently managing business-related communications, so to speak. So, yeah.
All right. And are there any issues that you're most interested in pursuing or promoting on the commission?
As far as what?
Well, for example, a lot of people are concerned about preserving the rural character. Other people want to see city growth in business. Some people are in between those 2. That's just one example. You could be interested in code enforcement, any number of things.
Yep. So as it sits right now, I love what East Bethel holds, and when we were talking about the 65 corridor, you know, that's one of the reasons I came first to hear about was because of my fear that, okay, we're going to start turning this into an urban place. But as far as what I would want to see done, or I think right now I want to get feet wet and just you know, learn what this process looks like, what the planning committee really gets into. And so seeking to change anything, not yet. I've got, you know, I'd have 3 years to really come to terms with, okay, this is where we're going as a city, and do I agree with that, you know, or is there something I can contribute and try to help redirect? I was talking with Tanner at the last planning committee meeting, and he said, you know, once you take that first step and volunteer for the first time, it's like your eyes are open to everything that's, you know, actually going on in the city. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want, is to know what's going on. I want to be a part of it so that I can actually say, like, this is what I agree with that's happening, this is what I disagree with that's happening. Let's make a plan together. So, only been here 3 years. It's a third actual committee meeting that I've attended. So, I'm ready to start even seeing what direction I'd like to go here.
All right. You sort of answered that, but the next question was, what is your vision for the Highway 65 corridor?
Sure. So that was like you said, I already answered a little bit. So it's the 3/4 mile stretch between the highway and, you know, say the
Yeah.
golf course, for instance.
Just in general, what do you,
Yeah.
you know, if you, perfect world, no judgment, what would you envision 65 looking like?
Yep. It would be hard to say that I'd want it to turn into a Blaine. You know, you go there and it's like just chaos. You know, shopping everywhere. It's like I feel like the drive is not a big deal if that's what you want to do. I would not want to see that brought this far north. But I do believe that developing the area for practical things, like the gas station, for instance, I thought that was a great idea. But, you know, it's just a gas station. What else can we do to turn this into, you know, a place where, as a community, we can go together. You know, like the movie theater is one thing, just without overdoing it. So I don't have any idea what that looks like as far as how to practically plan that out. But I do believe I share a lot of the sentiments that everybody else here does, as far as we're not looking to turn it into, you know, Blaine or anything really congested.
Do you find or know of any local issues that would put you in a position of conflict of interest by serving on the board?
No, not yet.
Okay. Do you have any questions for us or anything you'd like to add?
You know, as I don't think I have any questions. I'm sure they'll come flying, but like I said in the beginning, wanting to be here for the next 30 years, I think that that alone, it drives me to, like, I don't want to see, you know, the city go downhill, and to be able to express the care that I have for the place that I feel I want to live for the next 30, 40 years until, you know, whenever. I think that that's my biggest leg to stand on right now. I don't have experience with local government, but I sure want some. I think this is a great place to start.
All right, thank you. If you'll go to the, follow Jack, he'll
Gotcha.
isolate you, and then we'll talk to the next person.
The next applicant is Eldon Holmes.
Yeah.
Hello? All right, we have 6 questions that we're asking each applicant.
Okay.
First one, why are you interested in becoming a commission member again, in this case?
Well, actually, I miss it. And matter of fact, I talked to a couple people already that's thought I was still on it. So I said, no, I haven't been on it for a while, but I do miss it. And, living in the city, I think it's behooves me to be on top of stuff. And I've always tried to do that whether I'm on the board or not. So that's the best answer I can give you on that.
All right. What strengths and abilities would you bring to the commission?
Well, seeing as I was on the commission for 13 or 14 years, I think I know what transpires, what doesn't transpire, and I always tried to do what the ordinance said, whether I agreed with it or not. I've read the ordinance quite a few times, talked to people about it, but I think just being on the board in the previous years would be my strength.
Are there any issues that you're most interested in pursuing or promoting on this board?
Yeah, I think the city has to do more on their ordinance. They don't protect the ordinance as much as they should. The last time I was on the board, we were discussing about making a new sign ordinance, and that never happened. And I think that should be done. There's a lot of things that come up that you don't realize are coming up, and with previous experience, I think I can work on that.
All right. What is your vision for the Highway 65 corridor?
Oh, boy. You want a 3-hour discussion, or?
Maybe just a little shorter version.
Just a shorter one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was here when that first was started, and things have changed a little bit, not bad, but I think we need to still get some more companies interested in East Bethel. Seeing as we got the sewer in and everything, and it's just something that, I don't know, we just sort of lazily went along, and I think we should push it a little bit, actually, and make it a better community.
Are there any local issues that would put you in a position of conflict of interest?
Just my wife.
Good answer. And do you have any questions for us or anything you would like to add?
No, I think, well, just about everybody knows me, so they know what I'm going to be like if I do make the commission. And I just appreciate your vote.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And the final applicant is Randy Plaisance.
Hi.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, commission members.
We have 6 questions prepared for you. First being, why are you interested in becoming a commission member again here?
Well, my understanding was that at the time that I made my application, that the city was looking for people to join the commission, and there wasn't a lot of response. I've spent a lot of time with the city, volunteering my time, and I felt that I should step forward and volunteer again to help my city.
All right. What strengths and abilities would you be bringing to the commission?
Oh, I think patience is probably my biggest thing to bring to the commission. I've spent a lot of time on both planning commission and on city council, and so I understand that when we're considering different issues, that, you can't get too excited. You have to really dig into the issues and really find out what is going to be best for the city while still sticking to what the ordinance has for the city, so.
And are there any issues that you're most interested in pursuing as a member of the commission?
I don't have any particular issues that I have targeted for the commission, and I don't think that I should have any. I think that, each issue that comes before the commission should be taken for its own merits, and that we should judge them on those merits and make a decision for, the council to make the best decision.
What is your vision for the Highway 65 corridor?
That's a loaded question. The Highway 65 corridor should be, reserved for the future of the city. I mean, we have a certain amount of development that really should be happening because of the sewer and water district. And I don't even want to consider anything further beyond that, to be honest with you. Because if you are really going to start developing further north from that particular district, it really does mean that you're going to have to add significant systems to the city, which is basically more water systems and sewer systems. While I don't say that that's not going to happen in the future, I don't think that that is something that the city should consider anytime soon until we have finished with the development of, the current city and sewer water district. And in that end, in the future, I think one thing that we should make sure that we consider is that if we are going to be doing it, that we make sure that we have the finances in order to complete that project without asking the residents to foot the bill, as it were.
Right. Are there any issues that would put you in conflict of interest by serving on the board?
No.
And do you have any questions for us or anything you would like to add?
I don't think so. I think I know all of you, and I think all of you know me. The only thing that, like I said, is in my submission to the commission is my desire to just work through the issues and make the best decision that we can, so that city council can have hopefully all of the information in front of them to make a wise decision. So that's all I have for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So we select two of the three.
Yep.
Should we pass the votes to you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Again, today is just a recommendation to city council.
True.
So these are the two that you elected.
Okay, we have our results. And this is a recommendation to City Council, so they have their say as well. But the decision is on behalf of Gabriel Hanchen and Randy Plaisance. So thank you all for your interviews. I skipped an item, which was
Item 5.
Item 5, which is maybe I wanted to hold on to power longer, but it's a commission appointment of the chairperson and vice chairperson. So,
Apparently, I also missed that write-up in my printouts. So I'm on here.
what we've been doing traditionally in the last several years is the vice chairman moves to the position of chairman, and then we select a vice chair for that year, and then with the assumption they'll become chair the following year. So,
City Code Section 2-73 requires the appointment of a chairperson to serve for a one-year term. City Code states the following. Section 2-73 Chairperson. The chairperson shall be chosen from the committee or commission membership annually to serve for 1 year, provided, however, that no chairperson shall be elected who has not completed at least 1 year as a member of the committee or commission. Also, a vice chairperson is to be appointed to act as a chairperson in the event that particular individual is absent from a meeting. The recommendation is the commission is requested to appoint a vice chairperson and a chairperson to serve for the term of 1 year, ending January 31st, 2023.
Well, being we don't know who's all going to be on the commission. And
Also, with Karen and Sharon gone tonight, we did not, Sharon did not express that she was interested in the chairperson position. She did not express that she's not, but.
Karen wouldn't be eligible.
right. But if she's not disinterested, then it would be breaking our precedent if we chose somebody else, which, I mean, we can do that, but I think we could also defer till the next meeting when everyone's here.
What I was just gonna suggest.
That is an
yeah.
option.
I'd
Can we
hate to
defer till
recommend
the
her if she
next
wasn't
meeting?
interested.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I
Didn't you
think
guys have a change up with
Mhm.
this year with all the changes?
What do you mean?
Again, I came in late, but didn't,
Well, so 2020 to 2021, the chairpersonship stayed the same due to the meetings being online and several of the meetings having been canceled. 2021, coming into this year, Glenn was appointed chair after Wanda moved to the city council.
Right.
And so Glenn has not served a full year as chair.
oh, okay.
So where are we at then as far as?
There's no precedence anymore due to the strangeness of the times.
Should we just wait till next meeting to bring this up?
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
I think so.
make a
Almost.
motion. Oh, go ahead.
I'll motion to table item 5 till next month to decide appointments for vice chair and chair, and in the interim, Chairman Terry continue the next meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Did I say that appropriately?
All right, I've seized power still.
I'll take that 20 later.
Okay, next item, public hearing, conditional use permit for the Wat Lao Buddhist Temple at 4904 217th Avenue Northeast.
Planning Commission is requested to hold a public hearing and consider the recommendation of a conditional use permit to allow for a place of worship. Places of worship are a conditional use in all zoning districts in the city of East Bethel. In June of 2018, this property was purchased by a Buddhist monastic order. The sites consist of 2 properties totaling in 60 acres. The site is currently being used for a place of worship in which visitors gather to share experiences, and it is a place of respite and reflection. There's a high demand for worship space in the Laotian community. This location meets the demand for gathering space. There are 2 major Laotian festivals that utilize this temple through the year. Attachment 3 describes the festivals and the need for space. The festivals held on site have met the requirements of City Code Chapter 26, Article 7, Outdoor Entertainment. The city has received no complaints regarding this property, including no noise complaints during the festivals. We have received public hearing comments in Attachment 4. There's a public comment letter from a resident that is unable to attend tonight. During the public hearing, we request that Chair Terry read the letter aloud so it can become part of the public record. Staff is requesting the Planning Commission hold a public hearing and recommend approval to City Council for a conditional use permit for a place of worship on 60 acres at PIN numbers 12, 33, 23, 41, 0001, and 12, 33, 23, 42, 0001. Address 4904 217th Avenue Northeast, with the conditions set forth in Resolution 2022-6.
All right, I will read this letter.
Do we need to open the public hearing first?
I don't think so. I'll do that momentarily. And this is from Ed and Patty Theobald, who are neighbors located near the property under consideration. Hi, my husband and I are not able to attend the public hearing. Edward Theobald, Patty Theobald would like to give our opinion on the consideration for the conditional use permit for a place of worship known as the Wat Lao Buddhist Temple, located at 4904 217th Avenue Northeast, East Bethel, Minnesota. We, Ed and Patty, are in favor of allowing the above address to receive the requested permit. We live just down the road from the Wat Lao Buddhist Temple and hope that they will be able to receive the permit and worship at the above address. If you would like any further comments or have questions, please call or email. Thank you, Ed and Patty Theobald. Okay, at this time I'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to speak on this issue, please come to the microphone and state for the record your name and address.
The applicants are present in case you do have any questions.
Okay.
I'm Kay Anderson. I live at 4819 217th Avenue. My brothers and I own the property immediately north of 74 for the whole length of the property of the temple. We're very pleased to have them as neighbors. We love their design. We think it fits the neighborhood very well to have that lower design and those beautiful roofs on it. And we're really happy that they redesigned a little bit and they're leaving the trees. All right, so I'm fully in favor of them having their conditional use permit, and I hope they're my neighbors for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. How about that? 2 out of 2 neighbors are in favor of this. That's a good.
Including the one that's going to have a direct view of it.
I take that as a very good sign that
Record.
we have good neighbors and a good project that will serve the community and be an asset to the community. Any other comments?
I have no discussion on it.
I'm good.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for the Wat Lao Buddhist Temple at 4904 217th Avenue Northeast with any staff recommendations or conditions included.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes and goes to council when?
February 14th.
February 14th, Valentine's Day. Next item is a site plan review for the Wat Lao Buddhist Temple, 4904 217th Avenue Northeast.
Land Development LLC is requesting a site plan review for a new 8,400 square foot place of worship. Places of worship are allowed with a CUP in the rural residential zoning district. Currently, there is a home on the property where the master and additional monks reside. In 2019, an addition was constructed for additional worship space. The existing structure will remain as a residence for the monks. Exhibit B shows the floor plan, and Exhibit C shows the site plan for the new temple. At this time, the temple will be constructed with a bedroom for the master to reside. In the future, there are plans to construct a permanent residence to the north of the temple for the master to reside, at which time they will be required to go through an additional site plan review process. City staff has reviewed the site plan, and it's been determined that the site plan meets city code requirements, and staff supports the configuration, architectural standards, lighting, and landscaping of the proposed plan. The city engineer has reviewed the site plan and has no additional comments pertaining to the site plan. Once the site plan is approved, the applicant will submit a stormwater and drainage plan to be reviewed by the city engineer. Engineering items include but are not limited to stormwater calculations, NPDES construction permit, and project specifications complying with the East Bethel Engineering Manual. A building permit will not be issued until all city engineer comments and requirements are satisfactorily addressed. The architectural design is attached in Exhibit A. The building exterior is comprised of vinyl siding and brick veneer with ornate details on the roof. This structure meets the architectural standards established in Appendix A, Section 28-2 for non-residential uses in residential districts. The architectural design meets the requirements set forth in City Code. The landscape and lighting plan are shown in Exhibit D. The 60 acres is heavily wooded. Per City Code, the existing trees far exceed the amount of trees needed on the site plan. Therefore, it is being proposed to add 5 trees around the parking lot, shrubs, and gardens around the exterior of the building. The gardens will be additional places for respite and reflection. The west end of the temple will have a raised garden with a Buddha statue. The parking lot includes 2 LED light poles with 3 300-watt LED lights per pole. The lighting plan not only provides sufficient lighting for the parking lot, but also creates increased safety on the site. There will also be lighting at the entrances of the temple. The building is designed for a 300-person capacity, which requires by ordinance 100 parking stalls. The site plan shows 57 stalls with the ability to expand the parking to accommodate an additional 50 more stalls as shown on Exhibit C. At this time, the property owner is asking to establish 57 stalls with ghost parking shown for future expansion. At this time, 57 stalls should be adequate to meet the parking needs of visitors. As part of the Condition 7 in the attached resolution, the city may order the installation of accepted ghost parking spaces at any time when, in the city's judgment, conditions indicate the need for such parking, and the property owner shall comply with such order. City staff supports the request for ghost parking. Anoka County Highway Department and city staff are in the process of discussing requirements for the county road. At this time, Anoka County Highway Department may require a right turn lane. As part of the conditions in the resolution, the applicant will be required to meet the requirements of the Anoka County Highway Department. City staff, including the engineer, will continue to work with the Anoka County Highway Department to address their comments. Staff recommends the commission review the site plan and make a recommendation of approval to City Council with the conditions set forth in Resolution 2022-07 and accompanied exhibits.
All right, any discussion?
No.
I can't wait to see it go up.
Yeah. I'm happy to see actual architecture in the city. It's a rare thing here. So that's nice.
Looks like a well proposed. And looks good. Looks going to be a nice feature to the city, and we're welcome to have.
Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as read.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes and also goes to council, City Council on February 14th. Thank you and welcome to East Bethel.
Continue.
I can't wait for a tour.
Yeah.
Next item, a little more difficult. Zoning code discussion,
We've got-
automotive
We've
repair.
still got item 9. The
Oh,
concept plan.
I'm sorry. All right, got a reprieve from that one for a moment with item number 9, concept plan for Prairie Hills 213th Avenue Northeast, which is a public hearing.
Planning Commission is requested to hold a public hearing for the concept plan of Prairie Hills residential development at 1433-2321-0003 for TH Construction of Anoka Incorporated. The Planning Commission is asked to also review the concept plan for a 16-lot residential subdivision known as Prairie Hills for TH Construction. This property is located within the Rural Residential Zoning District. Within the Rural Residential Zoning District, the minimum lot size is 2 acres. All lots within the proposed Prairie Hills exceed the 2-acre minimum lot size. The property to be subdivided is 40.58 acres. When subdivided into 16 lots, that comes to an average of 2.54 acres per lot. Required frontage for lots within the zoning district is 200 feet. All proposed lots exceed the 200-foot frontage requirement. This development will be accessed off of 213th Avenue, which is also County Road 74, and 209th Avenue by the construction of a new portion of Tippecanoe Street. Based on feedback received by the concept plan, the developer will modify the plans and make application for the primary plat or preliminary plat. Staff is requesting that Planning Commission hold a public hearing, take public feedback on the proposed concept plan, and informally advise the developer on adjustments to the plan.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak on this topic, please come to the mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Dusty Johnson. I live off Okinawa Street in East Bethel. I just have a few quick questions. I'll ask them and go sit down, so I don't sit up here foolishly while you guys answer them. Are these houses, my first question was, what are the lot size? So I'm glad to hear that they're 2 or plus acre. Are they going to have their own private septic and sewer and water? Are there going to be turn lanes off 213th? And are they going to have mandatory in-ground irrigation for their yards? So there's 3 questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I will write my name after. I am Laura Wegener. I live at 20885 Austin Street Northeast. We live right on the corner of the field on the opposite side. I would request that we reconsider this idea of adding that many houses within that area. We live in that area. Part of the reason we live in that area is so our kids can play outside. One of the things I appreciate about East Bethel is that they, you hear and know when traffic's coming. There's not a lot of noise. Adding something like this is going to increase noise dramatically, including the fact that you'd be putting it in an area where there's not a lot of mature trees. There's not going to be a lot of noise blockers. I mean, they're potentially going to be looking over a field. They're going to have a lot of extra wind. I like where we live because it is a limited amount of cars. This is going to increase our traffic greatly. I also think environmentally, we see, my husband appreciates the wildlife, and he says, the fields are animal hotspots. They're used by the local animals, huge amounts of migrating birds. We see probably flocks of up to 50 birds almost daily on that field. Deer, it's a migratory hotspot. Hundreds of ducks and geese are coming through it. It would be quite a shame to know one of the reasons people come to East Bethel is for the nature and for the beauty of it, and to have that altered in by people coming in, and it would be sad. So I would recommend, or I'm not sure, recommend that, you know, it's reconsidered in some way. Thanks.
Thank you.
Someone else can come up if they want. I'm just going to keep writing.
Good evening. My name's Paul Wagner. My address is 20773 Austin Street. I'm just down a block southeast of the presented new development. I just have a statement real quick. I'll keep it short. My family and I have lived in East Bethel for about 10 years, pretty close to about 10 years. And the reason why we moved up here from Coon Rapids is because of the rural nature of it and the benefits that East Bethel provides in that rural atmosphere. My concern is a development like this is going to detract from the rural nature and the benefits that is offered in East Bethel. And once you go in this direction as far as any kind of development, you can't get it back. That being said, to Laura's point, the other concern I have is about bringing a development like this is that, one, the amount of traffic comes in. I have a fairly large family and I have children that are running around constantly. For whatever reason, they're attracted to the street and not the acreage that I have, which I still can't figure out. But that being said, so traffic would obviously be a concern if it's connected to 209th. That would be a major concern for myself, for my family. But two, just with all the developments that are going on around East Bethel, and developments are a good thing, not to say they aren't, and every company has the right to come in and develop and make a buck. But I guess the question we have to ask ourselves as a city is where does East Bethel want to be? What is it from a benefit standpoint? How does it value its real nature? Does East Bethel want to stay that way? How much development is a good thing? Obviously, virtue lies in the means, right? So there's a balance to everything. But that being said, with the developments on Durant and other places within East Bethel, my own personal opinion is that another development like this would degrade the rural aspect and the benefits that East Bethel has to offer. And that's why the families love living here and they want to be here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dawn Johnson. I'm on Okinawa Street. Been in East Bethel for over 20 years. And I have to ditto what the two people before me said. This is going to increase traffic in our area. And already with all those high school kids in the morning trying to get to school, you may not think it's a busy road, but it actually really is a busy road when we're during those rush hour times of traffic. The wildlife, again, I'm feeding half of that wildlife because it forgets to go to this field and it parks it in my backyard. So I know that those deer, the turkey, and also those big, loud sandhill cranes that sound like pterodactyls, they're over there all the time. And like he said, you know, they've got a right to develop that. If he's bought it, he wants to develop it. Maybe it shouldn't be 16 houses, maybe it should be less. Especially if they're going to start pushing that city sewer water over there. I definitely don't want that. So let's make these to where they don't have to have the city sewer water. And we can stay on our own private septic and well, because that's why we moved from Coon Rapids 20 years ago out here, was to get away from that. So I don't know if you're asking us, can these guys do this, or if you're just asking for our feedback, but I think it's a bad idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's John Glotchek. I live not here, but here, and have a good direct line of sight to that property. And when we picked this property, one of the best things we saw is it was quiet, and like my other neighbors have stated, the sandhill cranes fly through there, and it sounds like pterodactyls. It's something you don't get anywhere else. And the deer and the wildlife, and we have concerns about the water table. There's, you know, is that going to be sufficient? And our road here, it's a perfect, quiet road in the afternoon. I'm fortunate enough to work weekends, so I'm home during the week. And I was sitting outside and I'm like, it is so peaceful. It's peaceful, it's beautiful. Our neighborhood is a beautiful neighborhood, the way it is. And that traffic, when you see cars come and go, you know every one of them. There's not a lot of through traffic. Everybody that comes through lives there. And like I said, you see people with their, walking their children in strollers, riding their bikes through here. It's quiet. And this is quite the curve there. It's a blind curve. And I just have this problem, if we open that up and we have more traffic, it's gonna completely remove the feel of our neighborhood that we have today. And like I said, we've been here for 5 years, and that was the thing that brought it to us. We have a sense of community, but yet everybody leaves everybody alone. Everybody's got their own space, and we have that buffer there to give us the, like, that rural feel. And you start, put another subdivision in there, and then there's another one and another one. Next thing you know, we're just another, you know, ordinary neighborhood that has nothing to offer, you know, other than what any other neighborhood in any other town provides. So that's my 2 cents. And I know I've talked to all my neighbors, as many of them as I could anyways, and we're all of the same sentiment. We love our neighborhood and we want to leave it that way. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sorry, my leg fell asleep, so I'm gonna hang on to something. Thank you. I've lived in East Bethel most of my life.
Name and address, please.
I'm Kay Anderson at 4819 217th Avenue Northeast.
Thank you.
I've lived in East Bethel most of my life. I just moved back here from a stint in St. Paul. I happened to inherit part of the farm. I recognize that this is an area that unless you want to buy the property and protect it, what is the property owner supposed to do with it? So I've watched it turn from having no cars on the road with me when I drove into Minneapolis and back, to now having people tailgate every day as I try and watch out and not hit the wildlife. I just suggest that you think carefully about where you move to, because the whole world changes. And either you have to adapt to the change, or you have to get your neighbors together and pay out the money to buy the property. It's nice that you've had these wonderful little spots, but I tell you, that's not the future of the Twin Cities metropolitan area. You just have to look at the planning that's going on here to add a few million people. So all I'm asking is for you to think about it. You've had a wonderful time here. You moved here. Maybe you didn't think about the future. But then get your money together and buy the next piece of property and keep it the way you want it, instead of asking someone else to give up the value of their property because you like your privacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Jason Rude. I'm that guy. I'm with E.G. Rude and Sons, and we are working on behalf of Tony Ennin with TH Construction on Prairie Hills. And I thought I'd just try to address maybe some of the questions that I did have answers to. So, and maybe we should just reinforce, this is concept plan. This is not preliminary plat. We've got a long ways to go, but it's nice to get feedback in an early stage from everybody. The question had come up about lot sizes. I think that got addressed, that the average lot size is 2.5 acres, so I think that's been taken care of. private wells and septic, yes, that's what these lots will have. They'll have their own septic systems, their own wells. They would not be tied into the city sewer and water. Soil borings are underway, a wetland delineation is underway, a survey is underway to confirm that these lots have the livability to support the requirements. But all the research we've done so far, this is a good piece of ground that looks to support the wells and septics for the lots as proposed. We have had the amount of communication that you have at this stage with the Anoka County Highway Department, where again, we're at sketch plan, but we have received feedback that a turn lane will be required. I think that was one of the questions that was asked. And so a right turn lane would be required and would be part of this project. That being said, there would also be, when the county goes through a review, they require additional right-of-way dedication to accommodate the county road, which this land would dedicate to the county, and then it would restrict access beyond the one connection that's shown. We aren't showing anything more than the one street connection to the Anoka County's highway, and I think there's good sight distances for a connection in this area. Irrigation, I don't know that answer, whether or not that'd be required. I think that would be something that would be up to the developer.
I'm worried about the water table just like you.
The water table?
I'm worried about the water table just like the neighbors around it.
Yeah. Oh, that's the concern about irrigation. Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough. Noted. There was the note, we love our neighborhood, want to leave it that way. Change it kind of is inevitable. But I would say that this has been presented following the rural residential codes of the city of East Bethel, and we are following the rules that have been set up to preserve that character. Thank you.
Thank you. If it's something different.
Yes, it is something different. Don Johnson, Okinawa Street, which is 2 streets back behind here. Just an idea.
Please speak
Can
into
you
the microphone.
use the mic though?
Oh, because we're throwing things out here. You're proposing that the street connect to Austin 209th. Does it have to? Can it be one way in and one way out?
No.
Fire hazard.
So all the houses that are in the neighborhood there, there's only 2 ways in. There's one way in and one way out. Way over by Wild Rice. That's gotta be a fire hazard. There's way more houses in that Whispering Oaks development back there. There's gotta be 80+ houses back in there. And you come in on Okinawa or Windova, and you can exit way back over off of Durant where it turns into Wild Rice, I think, back in that area. Are we getting extra street in our neighborhood because of the fire hazard? How can it not be a fire hazard for that many houses, but these guys get 2 roads? I'm just asking.
That was then, this is now.
I agree.
Well, do we get to come up to code then? Give
To
them
answer
road
that,
code?
city code does not allow cul-de-sacs to be longer than 500 feet. It increases the risk of turning around emergency vehicles at the end of a cul-de-sac. It also increases risk with snow removal every year. Because Wild Rice and Austin, there is an entrance and an exit to that subdivision that does minimize the risk. Fire code tries to push cities so that there is at least one entrance and exit. By adding an additional through street so that emergency vehicles can approach from another direction, it does, again, it benefits the whole neighborhood in that emergency vehicles will have another way to enter or exit
So
the
street-
subdivision.
It does have to be a through street?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to troubleshoot some things here. What if it was just a in? And what are the rules for trees for the people that are backed up on 209th and Austin? I mean, can those lots be more heavily treed? So you're not looking at an empty field with a house right in the middle? What are the rules on that?
City code requires a minimum of 2 boulevard trees per residence.
I got over 100 trees on my property and they only have to have 2, and I've only got 2 acres, not 2.5. They
Yeah,
only have to have 2
That's
bulldozers.
the city code minimum. There's nothing keeping the homeowners from putting in additional trees when they move in.
Isn't that kind of shields the neighborhood, the existing neighbors from looking at an open field of houses? Just trying to troubleshoot, so, because I get it, I mean, it's 2 blocks away from me, but I wouldn't want to look at it either, so.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I'll close the public hearing. I will say that I'm actually of the same mind as the residents, and also faced with the inevitable that development happens and it's legal, and my biggest regret is that developers don't take into account preserving the beauty or the nature as best as possible. Some do, the majority seem not to. And this isn't the ideal site for it, but I was thinking there could be an option that we talked about many years ago where you design so that you're not maximizing every square foot of space for stacks of houses, but you have some land set aside that's like a buffer or a park or just nature space, and you sacrifice with smaller lots to concentrate the houses in one part, and you're leaving more nature open. But usually that's when you have water features or woods or something, or not this big long thing where you don't really have the space to do that. But that would, if that were possible, that would have been a good solution, this one, to leave 209th with a buffer of land and have a cul-de-sac with smaller lot sizes to compensate. Anyway.
Oh, done?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, again, I can sympathize with the residents, and I can understand, again, what you've had, and again, change is inevitable. I guess the one thing, or a couple things I've been thinking about while listening to everyone's comments, as I look at this, I'm also comparing it to Rendova and to Okinawa. I see, if I'm lining up this development next to, at once upon a time, somebody, Whispering Pines came in and thank you for that. Someone came in and said, you know what, I'm going to put 24 lots down Rendova. I'm going to put 24 lots down Okinawa. We're talking about half, or 2/3 of that. So when one of the residents made mention about moving up from Coon Rapids. Coon Rapids and a lot of those neighborhoods have an average acreage of less than 0.4, if not less than 0.3. These we're talking at 2.5. I'm in a neighborhood over off of Viking Boulevard and 195th, and I live in a cul-de-sac, so I have one entrance in and out of the neighborhood. I have barely over 0.4 of an acre, but I still have a fenced yard. I still have trees to block Viking. I still love where I live. I still enjoy the rural characteristic. I would love 2.5 acres. That would be fantastic to have. The one thing, or another part of it, that to keep going on that, like I said, I look at this development, and again, it seems to fit the essential character of the neighbor that's already there, actually, if not with, again, greater land. You're going to have houses that, if you're looking even at just 4 lots together, that's, like I said, 2.5, that's, what do you got, 10 acres there with 4 houses on it that are close together, as opposed to that same 10 acres where you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 to 8, depending on which lots you're looking at. So, and again, and if it is an issue for anybody, let's say on the east side of Rendova, for having to look, no longer being able to look across the farm field, but having to look at neighbors' houses, instead of waiting for them to plant trees, maybe it might be worth looking at investing and putting in some of your own mature trees now before it happens. Again, just giving feedback from what we've heard with this. Developer was here, he answered a lot of great questions. Sounds, from the looks of it, he was taking notes and he appreciated hearing as many comments as he did, so they can take that back, to their concept. But also, I believe it was Kay, again, change does happen. And there is land around here. And I guess, just like when we talk about, or at least my vision of 65, and East Bethel as a whole is being able to maintain our rural characteristics while still being able to have the needs of today, using things like Highway 65 as a corridor. Now, again, it doesn't need to be, again, someone else's comment, doesn't need to be Blaine, it doesn't need to be as busy. But it's nice to have that accommodation. And when we start talking about, and I know over the last decade plus that I've been helping serve the community, one of the things I keep hearing about is grocery store, grocery store, grocery store. When is 65 going to develop? When is 65 going to develop? And what I can tell you from being on this side of the table, the question gets asked a lot, what comes first, businesses or rooftops? Rooftops or businesses? We're starting to get there. The ball is starting to move on 65. It's unfortunate it hasn't gone faster, but I'm grateful that it's at least moving. So as we're starting to get some of that, this is the other part of what we need in order to have those things on the corridor, so that way we can, again, work in unison to keep our rural characteristic while still being able to have some of the everyday advantages that we have today. So just some things to keep in mind when we look at this. Now, is my vision for East Bethel to be all of these 2.5 acres everywhere, every piece of farm field? No, I wouldn't want to see that. But that's why we have ordinances. That's why we have regulations on the size of lots, what we're putting in. And that's why developers have to come before us with a plan and an idea. So it's not just what they want. And we can help guide it, but we can't stop it. It's just, again, we can't. And if it fits the code and it fits the rules, we still have to serve at the behest of the city. And the city initially sets the ordinances and the rules, and we're here to help enforce that and help determine if there, when it comes to variances, things like that. So just some things to keep in mind when you look at developments like this, and know that we are at least trying to, I think everybody up here, since we all live here, we all know we want to keep that same look. But again, just because it's not in my backyard, doesn't mean I'm not as passionate about it. I still want, like I said, my city to look a certain way, but I also know that it's going to come at some cost. And again, who are we to tell a landowner what they want to do with that land at a certain point in time? They have that choice as well. So, just some thoughts.
Thank you. That was great. To the person that loves the sandhill cranes, so do I. And they're still going to be around. I mean, I don't think that this development or the other developments that are happening down on Durant are going to chase them all away. But again, and for this property in particular, this is a concept plan. And it's possible that the developer could come in with fewer houses on this property. Probably not likely, because they are 2.5 acres. But this is a concept, so we don't know exactly what will end up in there for sure. But you're right, we need rooftops before we can get anything else up here in East Bethel. And not that we want to be a blame, don't take me wrong, but we can't say no to the landowners either, especially if they're following all the rules we've set forward for them. Thanks.
I had a question on the blind curve on 209th. I'm concerned about that too, but I'm wondering how practical it would be to use 209th if you're living there. Wouldn't it serve your needs better to go on County Road 74 in most cases? So I don't know if that's going to be as trafficked as just because it's a second alternative. I'm not completely familiar with that area enough to know.
I've been looking at the maps. I second that too. It would be, if I was moving into that neighborhood, to me, I would find it disadvantageous to take 209th or Austin to get into there, as opposed to continuing down Durant up to 74
Right.
and to get in, even just from an efficiency standpoint. Unless I was trying to take my time, and at that point, if I am, I'm not racing through that neighborhood to begin with.
But it would be important to make sure there's a good line of sight from to that intersection of the new street that would be going into 209th.
Yeah, meaning not having the houses butted up to 209th off the new street as opposed to the north side of the lot.
Well, yes, and also, I mean, I'd rather have more trees than less, but if that intersection were shielded by trees, then it would be harder for a car to see a car coming from the development onto two.
I live on
Two.
that corner, and people go whipping around that corner and on motorcycles and everything. It's dangerous.
There are unfortunately
People that have
lots of
kids that live on that
curves
corner.
like that.
Yeah.
There's one by my house, people come tearing around it and go to the other end and tear around that curve. It's
Yep.
not much we can do. We can't straighten out the streets now,
No.
unfortunately.
Get up here.
So my point about that, though, is just for the developer to pay attention to what that intersection is going to look like and to try and minimize any risk of blind or low visibility for cars emerging there. Like that. All right, any further discussion?
I don't think it did. I think I spoke long enough on it.
I think they fit the city requirements. They're beautiful lots. If you look at a lot of the lots out here in East Bethel, you have a 2.5 acre lot and you probably got 1/3 of an acre above water. These are lots that aren't underwater. You're still gonna have your wildlife. Trust me, it's not going. You might not have it like you have now, but it's still there. And I wanna thank you, Kay. Some of us that have lived out here for 30, 40, 50 years, we welcomed a lot of you residents with open arms, and we enjoyed you coming here. And there's a lot of people that don't care for new residents. And, we're supposed to get along. I get it, we don't want it, but, go ahead and take your concept plan and sit on it for another 50 years, and we'll have like we have down on Lexington, where they're building townhomes 3 stories high in a swamp. Then you'll have 175 units there, or 200 units. Sometimes you gotta be happy with what's going in. It could be worse. You could live across from Highway 65 and County Road 22, and you got all kinds of buildings going in there. You know what? It is what it is. You're not gonna stop it. You could be in Woodbury, you could be in, take your pick, south, east, or west. I think north is developing less than the other 3 directions. So 16 lots isn't too bad.
If it's brief and to the point.
Do you want to reopen the public hearing?
I'm just not formally.
And is it still open or not?
No, go ahead.
It's not open, but we'll accept the comment.
You commented on how 30 years ago, out by Stillwater and in Woodbury, they built this wonderful thing with a community sewer, community well, saved the 30 of the 40 acres for wildlife, put all their houses on 10 acres, and they kept all that open space. And I came down to City Hall here and I said, that's really cool. Can we do that in East Bethel? And I was told, no, we don't have the code for it. So when you mention it, I would love to see the code for that. Shared well, shared sewer, septic, shared septic, just like they do over on the east side of town, because that would be a lovely way to develop in this community and preserve all the open space. Thank you.
Thanks. We've looked at that, and I didn't know that that's not allowed, but we've looked at, well, isn't that allowed in a planned unit development?
No. Short answer is no. There are a lot of legal issues that stem from shared wells and ownership, and typically shared septic systems end up under the control of the city because of.
It is if it's on a public water sewer system.
No.
Shared systems are very problematic in terms of maintenance, so people clean up, who pays for them. who does it
Covenants.
wrong.
Yeah.
So, but if it's on a public water sewer system, it is allowed. However, the rural areas of this city, if I can assure one thing here tonight, nobody in this room will ever see city water and sewer.
Right. Yep.
Moving on.
All right.
And the reason for it is just purely economics. In order to support city water and sewer extension, instead of having one house for 2.5 acres, you need 8 to 10 houses for 2.5 acres. Because the cost is just so exorbitant to get those services out there.
And that's why Coon Rapids has city sewer and water in a lot of very packed, tight neighborhoods.
So it's a benefit with rate.
Okay, we need to move on.
Yep.
We're trying to-
Yeah. I just wanted to make one more point about that, though. Not on this particular piece of land, but you could, in more of a square piece of land, you could focus development with smaller lots, but not shared sewer and water. But you could still dedicate open space and trade that off for a reduction in lot size. But you're right, shared sewer and water is not the thing for something like that. All right, any motions or
I think this was discussion only, correct?
a public hearing?
Do you feel you have enough to work on?
Thank you.
Oh, right,
Thank you.
right. Good point. Okay, now the zoning code discussion, automotive repair as a home occupation, AKA can of worms.
This item is a discussion for planning commission only. Automotive repair is a prohibited use within the residential zoning districts. It is allowed as an accessory use in the commercial districts. At the November 8th, 2021 City Council meeting, an administrative hearing was held in response to code enforcement efforts regarding a resident running an automotive repair as a home occupation. Meeting minutes are attached for your review in attachment 2. At the December 13th, 2021 City Council meeting, city staff sought clarification in which council directed staff to bring this issue to Planning Commission to discuss automotive repair as a possible home occupation. The December 13th, 2021 meeting minutes are attached for your review. The Anoka County City Code requirements, Andover and Blaine do not allow home occupations to occupy any accessory buildings unless specified within an approved CUP, ruling out automotive repair. Anoka, Columbia Heights, Coon Rapids, Fridley, Lino Lakes, and Ramsey explicitly prohibit all automotive-related home occupations, including automotive repair. Points to consider during this discussion is limiting automotive repair to only commercial properties as currently allowed by city code. If automotive repair is allowed within residential districts, should it be allowed throughout the city, including smaller urban lots, or limited to bigger lots in rural areas? And if it is allowed, what type of requirements should be imposed? Staff recommends the commission discuss automotive repair as a home occupation. City council will be provided the discussion.
Anybody want to jump in first to this?
Well, I'll jump in. I'm ready for this
Tom's on his
one.
way out.
I'm ready for this one.
All right.
Auto repair, we've blackballed them. They're not for every house on every street corner. Trust me, they don't belong on a 1-acre lot on the corner with a blinking sign. That doesn't belong there. But if you have 3 acres, 4 acres, 5 acres, it's surrounded by our beautiful swamps in East Bethel, and it's on a back road. Why do we care what some neighbor wants to do? I can tell you that there was a neighbor that lived close that used to work on many other neighbors' cars for a discount rate, and the neighbors got along a lot because of that. Auto repair does not have to be a negative mark. I don't think it's, we develop all of these rules and regulations that the entire area cannot be this or cannot be that. I don't think that's right. I think there should be guidelines and there should be rules. Yeah, I don't want to see a bunch of junk cars. I don't want to see stuff all over. I don't want to see people 7 days out of the week. Those are called guidelines. Require some trees, require some fencing, require hours. If there becomes a problem, fine them and get rid of them. But you have to give them a chance. I think if we close the door, we're going down the wrong road. We just had COVID where how many people were out of work and they couldn't go in? I don't know what the automotive repair industry was like, but I know other industries you couldn't go into work. There's another person that's not working and that's not bringing in an income, you know. So I'm in support of opening it up to auto repair.
I would say that I am in agreement with you, put emphasis on the conditions. Because, and I'm not sure that even 3 or 4 acres is right, or if that's the right criteria. On a case-by-case basis, I think, if there's a way to do that, where you're not setting a precedent, because there are some clearly neighborhoods, and there are others that are isolated. You know, you could have a 3-acre lot, but you're surrounded by people that have 20-acre lots. And it just, each case is its own thing, and it's hard with that particular one to make it too broad and open, but I believe it shouldn't be restricted at all as, I mean, like 0 tolerance. So it's, I think it's finding the fine line of how to screen it, make sure that traffic isn't an issue, make sure that it wouldn't disturb the character of the neighborhood, because most home businesses are the kind where you don't really know it's there. And if automotive repair was operating that way, then that would be great. But if it becomes where people kind of dread just being in their own neighborhood because there's like fumes or noise or whatever, then it's not doing the right thing. So how do we find that balance?
I agree, and that would be hard. In my neighborhood, right along where I live, there's, I think, 4 houses, and we technically have 5-acre lots. Half of that is cattail marsh. So we have 2 acres. The house next to us has the perfect garage for auto repair. But we wouldn't want the neighbor to be doing that because of the proximity of his garage to ours. They don't do it, but I mean, that's the kind of thing we're gonna run up against is, okay, I have 5 acres. And so it says I can do that because I have 5 acres, but my garage is 10 feet from the property line. So there's gonna be issues like that coming up, I fear.
So setback from adjacent properties
Right.
of the facility would probably be an important issue to include.
I guess one of the things I think about, because I mean, I think I've always made my stance pretty clear. I would love for everybody to be able to do whatever they want on their own property. But at the same point, and to something even Eldon said earlier, and something I've tried to work with, having worked beside him for a number of years, is, you know, the word precedent always comes up when we start talking about this stuff, and that's usually the fear. And I'm just going to venture to guess, because one of the things I didn't see in the packet, because I know the city, our staff did a good job looking up what our neighboring cities are doing, and none of them are offering this, none. And the part that tells, or what I think that starts to tell me is that because there is no way to control the precedents once you open that up, that's why none of the other cities have also open it up for that. I mean, don't get me wrong, if there was a way to do it, I'm all ears. Again, I'm glad we're having the discussion. I think it's important to have the discussions, and if there's a way to make it work, great. But be honest, I'm hard pressed to wonder, once you open this up, how far does it go? And we've seen, I'm not saying, anybody is abusing it or could, but it really opens that door, and I think we definitely need to be careful about how we do it, if we do. But like I said, I say that to just about anything that we open up. But again, I think it's always important to have the discussions and always review and see if we're in the right spot or if it's something that does fit. But I think we do need to be very careful and very cautious as we discuss this, as far as how far down we go with it. With that being said, in staff research, did we find any cities that do, and have they had success or complaints, or?
I did not find any cities that explicitly allow it. I do know cities where it occurs, however, they don't participate in code enforcement.
Got it.
Well, I know of one in Bethel, Gott Auto Repair.
I wasn't able to find anything in their code regarding that. I did not, if I wasn't able to find these, it explicitly addressed in their code, it was not noted.
I guess just thinking about, okay, even just tying it into the, one of the last topics we just went over. We got a brand new ideally a brand new development coming in, 2.5 acre lots, and, brand new houses, and someone wants to put up a larger pole building or a bigger garage, which who doesn't like having more space to put their stuff? But again, now you've got some extra traffic, you've got some extra noise. And again, not everybody's going to be as professional as the next guy. So again, if you do, how do you, questions I guess that come up are, how do you enforce it? We already have enough issues with code enforcement in the city with some of our other ordinances, so now we're going to add even more to that. And again, and at that point, once you enforce it, what kind of fines do you put on it? And is that, is the juice worth the squeeze? And when you start to get to that point, or somebody's going to say, oh, well, it's just it's in my budget every year. Pay the city the fee for being here and being extra noisy, and I'll pay the extra couple grand and happily keep going about my business. It's, again, like I said, it's a very fine line. But I'm open to the discussion. I'd have to see something.
Also, there's the issue of outdoor storage and storage of vehicles, because I think 5 is the maximum for residents.
And exterior storage is explicitly prohibited for home occupations.
Right.
Yep.
So if somebody had their business and their vehicles they were working on or were waiting for pickup were in a garage, then that wouldn't be an issue. But if it was, suddenly a parking lot full of vehicles coming in and out, then that would kind of violate the spirit of it.
Sure, that would violate the guidelines that we would set up. We would set up that you have 5 vehicles and that's the maximum. If you want to have your license and you want to do business in the city, these are the requirements. 5 vehicles. I think we get to the point where we're so restrictive of what we do. 5 vehicles is the max, that's what it is.
But that's 5 vehicles as a property owner. As
Sure.
a home occupation, it's 0.
Correct, but I think if you want to run a business, you have to understand that this is what the rule is.
Yeah, sorry, the way it was sounding was like you were saying with commercial business, allowing them to have 5 vehicles outside.
No, I'm
Okay,
not
sorry, I
asking
just wanted to
for
make sure I heard it
additional.
right.
Nope, I'm not asking
Okay.
for anything additional.
Thank you for clarification.
I think one way to get around the issue of what would be the right acreage would be instead of thinking about acreage, think about setback of the facility from adjoining properties. Because then it would open it up to different kinds, like some people have real long lots where they could do something far from the street side, and other places have wide spreads between neighbors.
So, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, I'm not trying to be difficult, but, so let's just take that scenario though, and say that somebody who's got the perfect lot, the perfect outbuilding, and they can have that business, or we've allowed them to, in theoretical, and then Joe's Auto wants to come in and say, hey, I don't, the house I bought doesn't have a detached, I only have attached, and I wanna run my business, why can he have his and I can't have mine? I'm gonna be just as professional as him. And then we have to sort that out.
If they can do a detached structure that's the same setback away from a,
But now they're asking for a variance because the unique characteristics of their lot don't allow them to have a detached, sorry.
That's a case by case, but
Yeah.
you're right.
I'm just saying, because then we're gonna have these conversations. This is
Right.
what people are gonna come before us. We've seen these exact conversations come before us.
City code also presently prohibits the construction of a new detached accessory structure solely for the
Solely for
purpose
the
of running a
business.
home occupation. I just want to bring that up as well for your
Thank you.
discussion.
Yeah,
All right, so that's already there.
yeah, I'm just, but, yeah.
Right.
But that will come up, they'll come in.
I agree with you, that you can't say by acreage, it has to be each individual site, in order to do it correctly. And I go back to the guidelines, to your point. Joe wants to do it out of his personal home, shop, garage. No, those aren't part of the guidelines. That's not acceptable. That's why you're not allowed to get a permit.
Okay.
So.
Got enough feedback?
We've got enough council members here, we could almost ask them, they're the ones who sent it to us.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I call anybody out there? I wasn't trying to.
So with the three questions in the write-up, I think that you have addressed
Okay.
about limiting it to, so you guys have clearly stated that you do not want to limit it to commercial properties only, that you feel that there is a home occupation solution. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on your stance on this. I don't know if you have addressed if it should be allowed on smaller urban lots or if it should only be limited to rural. I get a feel of it, but I don't know that it has been explicitly stated. And then what type of requirements would you suggest, adding to this if council, because if we move forward with this to council, just saying planning commission thinks that we should do it, but without the how, I think that we should because you guys would be reviewing the ordinance update as well.
I would suggest we have a joint council planning commission work meeting to hammer this out. I do think we could find a way to make this work, but it would have to have some pretty well-considered restrictions so that it's only going to be a benefit to everyone involved and not become a big enforcement issue or other burden on the neighbors. And I think the setback way of looking at it would be a good way to solve a lot of this. If you can, and it would be a broad setback, but if you can have your business so it's not creating a nuisance just by proximity, then it's, what's going to be the issue.
Okay, I will talk to Stephanie and we'll work on setting up a special meeting.
To answer some of your questions, because you're right, we haven't hit all three. And if it's all right with the rest of the council and with the individual, Eldon, could I pick your brain for a second with some history here?
Go right ahead.
If you don't mind stepping up to the podium?
No, that's fine.
Thank you. Just because I know you have the experience, and I know you have the experience that predates myself as well. My question really more relates to, in our packet, one of the questions before us is, if we were to consider this, limiting automotive repair only to commercial properties as currently allowed by the city code, do you have any history on that to help shed the light on automotive in the commercial
I got a lot of
district?
Can you
history.
give us the short version?
Yes, the shorter version.
I'll try and make it short, but
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I've done auto body work for 48 years. I have my own body shop. I've raced cars for 30 years. So So I've had my own automotive stuff. Used to live in Coon Rapids, used to live in Columbia Heights. We already have had people doing body work and paint in a 1 acre lot. And we already have mechanics doing stuff in their own garages already, which I complained about when I was on the commission. The problem with home occupation and stuff like that is, especially if it's body work, is explosions and paints and stuff like that. That's, you can have it in the middle of a 10-acre lot. If it starts a fire and burns down everybody in the neighborhood, your history. Plus, the fire department has to keep track of that. You got oily rags. You know, hey, I'd love to do something in my garage. You know, I got a car lift in my garage right now, but you know, that's just for me, and that's it. At one time, I would have said, yeah, let's go for it. But after being in the trade there, after doing automotive work, I think you're climbing the wrong tree. It's too dangerous for body work mainly, and even in as a mechanic, you got oily rags and stuff like that, and most people don't care. They'll throw it on the floor, whatever. I know when I had my body shop, I mean, all the rigid rules I had to go through, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I didn't do body work in my own house in Coon Rapids, and I lived right across the street from the mayor. And he turned me in, and then they were gonna take it away, and all of a sudden his wife had a car accident, and guess who fixed the car? But that's neither here nor there. The thing is, it's not the place for it. It's a commercial type business, no matter which body work or mechanic.
Thank you.
And if it was up to me, I'd say no, period. And we already have people with cars in their yards that aren't licensed, they're nothing. They're sitting there, they've been there for 15 years. I've talked to the city about it. The city doesn't do nothing about it. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to consider here.
Yeah, because that
And,
when you start to
and if you try it in Plymouth or Minnetonka, be careful, boy, I'll tell you that. Those two cities are, you think we're tough. They're unbelievable. So I mean, sure, I've done it all, but I would say no to both of them.
Yeah.
Period.
Even in the commercial, based on our history.
No, I mean,
Okay.
if you got a commercial
Okay.
property, not a
That's-
problem.
Yep, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, but if you're doing it
Thank you.
residential,
Yeah.
and some of them are good friends of mine, I've told them, hey, you're
Yeah.
doing something wrong. But I think that's totally, even if you got a 20-acre lot and you got the garage in the middle of the lot, if they start a fire.
Yeah.
And we got grass and everything, I mean, it doesn't take long to spread. It's just either get a city, or a commercial property, or, work for somebody. That's my opinion.
I appreciate the opinion and the history.
Thank you.
The other reason why I wanted to ask that, and bringing it back to the commercial property piece of it is, just thinking even in my current trade, as an insurance agent, one of the insurances that we have to write on these is, professional liability, care, custody, control. So when you start talking about, professional businesses, trained, skilled, typically you're not going to see that as your home occupation. And I guess that's where, as the discussion continues, for me, I'm more inclined to say toward, to allowing it into the commercial properties and the right property. With, again, same thing with the right restrictions. The residential, I have a little bit harder time with. But again, that doesn't mean I can't be convinced. I'd have to see the right things, but I'll tell you, I'll be hard pressed on a residential property with it. But that's just my 2 cents. Thanks.
Which is why we need a joint work meeting.
I think it's a great idea.
Next up is updates, which would include council report presumably, if there is one.
That would be Brian.
There certainly is. I'm Brian Mundell. I'm one of your city council members for East Bethel, and In tradition, yearly, we switch up some of our liaisonships, and I was chosen to be on planning. And it's kind of like coming home, because chipped my tooth was on planning for 4 years, and it's always nice to come back to what you see. So it's been a interesting meeting so far. Some interesting discussions.
Don't you miss it?
Just a little bit. I mean, if you want, we can change places for some meetings. So
Nope.
So a little bit to report. There's been a little bit of changing of employment in City Hall. We approved an advertisement of a coordinator position that would be working in financing, that would take over some of the financing director's duties and plus add more duties to that particular individual. And with that, the finance director, Mike Jaworski, will be stepping up to be a deputy city administrator. So he will still be directing the finances, but he will be taking on some more responsibilities and working side by side with the city administrator in some occurrences. And City Council canceled the February work meeting. I know lots of people like to attend those. I'm sorry that we had to do that, but just wasn't enough on the agenda. So don't come to that.
Unless we have a joint meeting then.
Unless we have a joint meeting, yeah.
Too soon.
And then a couple of general announcements. Our spring town hall meeting date was set last night. It will be April 28th, 6 p.m. Generally, the agenda for that is 6 p.m. Everybody gathers in the senior center for general discussion. Usually the various departments are there. Obviously the department heads, but the sheriff is usually there, and the fire department, and various other areas. And we come in to the chambers for Q&A, formal Q&A, and then we retire back to the senior center. So we have that to look forward to on April 28th. And this Saturday, one of my favorite events, second only probably Booster Day, is the Fireman's Breakfast. This Saturday, 8 to 11 at Fire Station number 1 off Viking Boulevard. We will, or the fire department will be putting on a breakfast. It's been in the past a Belgian waffle breakfast. This year, Route 65 will be catering the breakfast.
Nice.
So, and not only will breakfast be there, if weather permits, there will be a helicopter showing up, the emergency helicopter, Lifelink, yes, thank you. And there will be a couple other vendors there as well. So I invite everyone out to come to this event. It's always a good time. It's usually very well attended. So with that, that's all I have on my report. So unless there are any questions by any of your commissioners?
Nope.
Thank you.
Look forward to having you for the next year, liaison.
All right, thank you. I look forward to being here for the next year.
Uh-oh, trouble.
Other business.
I don't have an update, but what I would like to do is, I would personally like to thank Tom Ike and Daryl Lawrence, who is not here tonight, for their service on the commission while it was a challenging Zoom meeting year. You guys came through with flying colors, and you will be missed. Don't write us off. If there's other commissions that come up or something else, please consider it. And I would like to thank you for your service, and the ones sitting here include Karen and Sharon. And I would like to say congratulations to the two that were recommended to city council tonight. But once again, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Daryl, wherever you are. And we'll miss you.
Thank you, Wanda.
I echo those sentiments. Thank you very much, Tom and Daryl, if you're watching.
Anything from the staff?
Nope, Stephanie should be back next month.
All right.
Tom, I think we're gonna let you do it.
Make a motion to be done.
Second, no.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Best of luck to you on your free evenings. Yes, thank you very much, Tom.